Hey guys, this is part 2 of a hair transplant series where we follow my friend Matt as he gets a hair transplant in Istanbul and then recovers from it and regrows his hair over the course of the next year or year and a half. My name is Adam Hurley. I am a men's grooming journalist for multiple outlets like GQ, Rob Report, and Men's Journal. And Blueprint is my channel where we talk about all things men's grooming related, including hair loss and of course hair transplants. This video spotlights the day before a hair transplant. So in this case, this is in May of 2025. We are following Matt just as he's about to get ready for that hair transplant surgery the following day. This entire hair transplant series was made possible by the Hair Alliance. The Hair Alliance helps people like you get matched with the perfect hair transplant clinic based on any number of factors. Contact them with any questions or to get started at thehairalliance.com or use this QR code. Stick around for the other videos in this series. The very next one focuses on the main event, the actual hair transplant. So I think you'll want to watch all the way through and to see Matt as he regrows his hair. And hey, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel to get all those videos in that series. And for now, let's get into the day before a hair transplant. So you will arrive by shuttle from the hotel. These shuttles are basically taking you all around Istanbul from the airport to your hotel, from your hotel to your clinic. It's probably included in the price of your overall procedure. And thank goodness for that.
The shuttles were nice, like door-to-door service, taking care of the logistics, having them handle it on the front end and alleviating that nerve-wracking aspect of going through something like this in a different country.
One main thing that happens at this control session before the transplant is you close the loop on any of the conversations that you've had in the lead up with the clinic. This session is when the doctor will imagine a new hairline for you and discuss what type of look that you want, as well as advise on what feels most realistic given the density and volume of the hairs that are being transplanted, as well as the actual hair loss that you might be recovering.
Meeting with the doctor up front and having some of my main questions answered really helped me be more comfortable going into the process, what kind of results I could expect, and hearing directly from the doctor, as well as how long things were just going to take for the procedure.
They have great technology that can scan your hair and determine how thick your follicles are, how prolific your follicles are, because they can grow anywhere from 1 to 4, sometimes 5 hairs from each one. So in addition to just seeing how thick each one of those is and the amount of hairs growing from each follicle on average, they get a really good idea of how much potential you have for this procedure, how many hairs they're going to have to move around, how many grafts are going to be needed, and the results that you can expect. That number of grafts also determines how long the procedure is going to take and if they need to take hairs from anywhere else besides the sides and back of your head. So in Matt's case, it was estimated that he would need around 5,000 grafts, which is a lot. It's on the very high end. Most people are probably in the 2,000 to 4,000 range. So they did plan to break his procedure into 2 medium length days instead of doing 1 really long day. For the sake of these videos, we're just going to treat his procedure as 1 single day, just so that the timeline lines up to, here's what happens the day after your hair transplant, here's what happens the week after. But do note that technically they did the front part of his head on day 1 and the crown on day 2. And in Matt's case, they did determine that they would need to take some hairs from his upper neck and lower chin. So he was advised not to come with a cleanly shaven neck, just so they could get an idea of the real estate on his neck and see the hairs there and analyze those as well. My best advice for anyone going into a hair transplant, especially if you're traveling far and wide for it, is to have a general understanding or general estimate of how many hairs, how many grafts you're going to have to move around. The clinic should honestly know just by looking at your pictures. They've done this thousands and thousands of times, but the cost of your procedure will be determined by the number of grafts. And so you don't want to be surprised when you show up. You do want a really accurate, rough estimate of what things are going to cost. I'm not going to get too in the weeds in this video on the different types of hair transplant technologies that exist, but at this control, you will also decide which technologies you're going to use. This might just be that they have a fancier or more efficient pen that they use to inject the hairs versus the one that's more common. It's all sort of technicalities that you can discuss with the doctor. Plus, these technologies can evolve quickly, and I don't want you to get too stuck on one idea. So just know that the cost of things is also determined by the technologies that you are using. But even the baseline, most entry-level hair transplant you can get these days is really effective, really realistic looking, and especially in Istanbul is really fairly priced. That said, pretty much all modern methods can uniformly take the hairs from the sides of your head, from the back of your head, so that you aren't over harvesting from any one part of your head. That way, anybody who looks at the sides or the back of your head after the fact, once you've healed up, probably won't notice that you took any hairs from those areas, and they won't leave a scar either with most modern options. Please make sure to talk with your clinic or with your doctor ahead of time to know exactly what your best options are, just so that you aren't shocked on the day before your hair transplant getting some sort of bill that you were not expecting.
I've had receding hair for over a decade now, so I wanted to be realistic, but the doctor was able to talk me through some options and what we could do with the amount of follicles they could transplant without overdoing and taking too much from a donor area.
When you do this control the day before your hair transplant, basically what you're doing is just closing the loop on all those conversations that you've had. And make sure when you're vetting clinics or are about to book a clinic that you feel confident that these kind of conversations are being had and that you feel like you are being accurately communicated what to expect, not only in terms of the run of show, but in terms of the amount of hairs and the technologies and the prices.
The doctor did present me with a couple options on how far forward we could realistically move the hairline. And for me, for someone who'd had sort of a widow's peak for a number of years, I decided to go with a little bit more receded one to make it a more natural look. The discussion really put my mind at ease in terms of having a natural look to my hair transplant. Specifically, he had shared plans about the hairs being implanted at specific angles to mirror my natural hair pattern, especially on the crown of the head where there's the colic, and having that be a more natural pattern.
One thing you might be wondering too is regarding the language and the language barrier of coming to Istanbul, regardless of what language you speak. This is something you can figure out online when you're booking if they have a translator in your language available. If you do speak English, a lot of the staff speaks English. Most of the doctors will speak English. That's not a given. But if you are concerned at all about that, just make sure that you will have a translator on site. It shouldn't cost you anything extra. In terms of our visit for Matt's hair transplant, there was an English translator at all times, but most of the staff spoke or understood English as well. And so everything felt fairly easy. There are certain things you should avoid in the days before a hair transplant, especially in the day before. These include caffeine, alcohol, smoking, any anti-inflammatories, any blood thinners, vitamins and supplements. It's also in your best interest to get a good night's sleep, even though you will be in and out of consciousness the next day as you do the procedure, but still, try to get an early night's rest. And with this control out of the way, hopefully you'll have peace of mind. All right, guys, that's the day before the procedure. Tomorrow's the big one, the actual hair transplant. So stick around. Give this video a thumbs up, please. Subscribe to this channel. You'll get all the updates from this series, but all of our men's grooming content as well. And if you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below. But be nice. Again, if you are considering a hair transplant, please contact our partner in this series, the Hair Alliance, at thehairalliance.com or using this QR code.